Hello everybody, and welcome to the LJL officially unofficial cast coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split Week 7 initialized. Week 7. I'm still your host, Alex, otherwise known as Lexi Goodbye Muscle on the internet. Of course, I'm joined by the glamorous man himself, Sam, initialized Hapgood Samuel. It's good to be back. Welcome back.
It is. It is good to be back, and I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am to start covering these last few games of the LJL Summer Split for the 2020 season. Like, there is a lot on the line still, and I'm really excited to see where these teams are going to be coming in to come playoffs, really, at this point as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, let's give a quick recap. We will be bringing coverage, live coverage, may I add. Obviously initialized live. Not a blast from the past quite yet. We're going to be getting full coverage of the last 4 games currently playing in the LJL. That first game for us is going to be Sengoku Gaming facing off against V3 Esports. Following that, it'll be V3 Esports facing off against Burning Core. And then our last 2 matches are going to be double Hawks games. It's going to be Axis facing off against the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. And then to round us out for the day, maybe one of the more exciting matches as well. Burning Core facing off against the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. And we'll go into all of these matches, but we've got 2 huge matches, our first one and our last one, but with some really competitive ones in between, right, Initialize?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's touch on that first one first, specifically because CGA bombed it today. They got rolled by DFM. Yeah. Like, it's not been a pretty day for CGA. We kind of knew it was in that squad to do this kind of thing. They coin flip their way to victories. They fight their way to victories. If you fight enough, sometimes you lose those fights and things go away from you. That said, that puts Sengoku Gaming in a fantastic position. If they win this game, they secure themselves second place for the LJL Summer Split.
Yeah, and that's huge, because going into this, it looked like it was basically a CGA lock. They had to go 1-1 to basically put themselves into minimum tiebreaker potential. Minimum.
Yeah.
And they had a week where it's not going to be an easy week, but Sengoku DFM, these are 2 teams you're going to need to at least beat once again in a playoff series. So doing it here now puts you out, gets you into that gauntlet match. Let's bring it back, though, to this one, because this is an important game, obviously, for Sengoku in that respect. If they win this game, they push themselves straight into that gauntlet match versus V3. That's who they'd be playing in the gauntlet match. And initialized, when we saw this last time around, things were not pretty for Sengoku, were they?
They were not. There was a serious focus on Blank in the jungle, and he ended up going back towards a Kane, which had, in fairness at the time, been seeing some rumours in solo queue, some rumours from scrims that were saying this champion is really strong. Anybody who watched the TSM speaker game on Kane will tell you that's not always true. Anybody who saw that game from Blank on Kane will also say it wasn't all that true, because it basically meant the Boogie on Trundle got to run rampant in the early game. He managed to gank mid repeatedly, put Piri and Zoe in the dirt, turned up bot lane. Kane was there but couldn't fight because he's Kane. He needs a little bit of time to really get online, and V3 ran away with it before he could.
Yeah, and this was a V3 that had Boogie on Trundle. This was not his standard hard carry jungler. They decided to not play through Boogie that game. He decided to be a ganking heavy jungler. They actually played mostly through Archer and Ace in that game, with Paz just kind of offering a lot more utility playing that Wukong.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that's the way to put it. It was a nice sort of revelation, I think, for V3 this split. We're saying, actually, last split we put Boogie on Trundle and we couldn't do it because we desperately needed him to be the hard carry.
Yep.
This particular time around, it was basically saying, look, we can put Boogie on Trundle, he can gank, he can be frontline, he can still be a playmaker, but it's other people who will be picking up the kills from his plays and looking to carry with it. Specifically, Archer in particular really stepped up this split.
Yeah, and to really highlight how good V3 Esports are at the moment against every other team, 4 out of the 5 members have the top 4 KDAs in the region.
That's very
Boogie,
impressive.
Ace, Raina, and Archer all have a KDA above 10.0 coming into this week. The next closest person is Sengoku's Blank on 7.6. The team's absurd at the moment. They're all on fire to some extent. Boogie and Ace now, I think Boogie still has one of the highest KDAs among junglers in the world.
Showmaker.
Yeah. I believe that was what it was last week, right? We're going to pull the Band-Aid off now, Initialize. Who's going to win this game in your eyes, and why?
I mean, it has to be V3. I mean, you would be a fool to go against them just off stats alone, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I also think that largely a lot of where Sengoku's strengths are is in the kind of stability of their mid-jungle duo, and I think we've generally seen that Boogie in particular is really good at pulling that apart. And I also think that Ace, while he's a less solid laner than Pyrion, has largely been roaming better than Pyrion recently, and that is offering a lot of strength to V3.
Yeah, not only that, but the team's just come together as a... The team's been coming together a lot more coherently and solidly for Sengoku. Like, over the last few weeks, they've been finding more ways to play around each other. At the beginning of the split, they were looking a little bit shaky in parts. They were picking up wins, but it seemed like they were almost brute forcing the wins by saying, we're better players. Now they're playing actually far more as a unit, but then we saw them have weird losses in Super Week. It's hard to gauge Sengoku for me. I do agree with you. I think V3 Esports are going to take this.
I'm there with you, and I think you probably are right to highlight Super Week and where the problems lay in that particular matchup, namely that Sengoku Gaming were very volatile. Namely, Pyrion was actually surprisingly volatile. There were a few games where they dropped to Axis, partly because, bluntly, Pyrion got dumpstered in the mid lane. He got dived a lot. He went like 2 and 5 on Victor, and it's been the first time in a while we have seen this guy who loves his control mages where you can just press him a 1v1. Not necessarily look for kills, but just like CS, lane pressure. That got punished really hard for the first time in a long, long time.
Yeah, but then that's the thing is, like, Axis had notified, like, had just realized, hey, they're not going to respect us. We're just going to keep doing this. Able to pick up a W over them, ending their 0-8 streak of losses. No one puts them
massive one
to 9 losses if you're Axis and Corporal. If you grab that quote, which I'm absolutely going to.
Oh dear.
It's truly phenomenal to see a team that was doing so good, like Sengoku at 6-2, and then they fall to our bottom place team. Like, that's a huge concern. If they're doing it here, what does that mean for playoffs for a team like Sengoku? Well, it doesn't put them in a great light, but getting into the Gauntlet match basically can maybe help fix or even just allow them to make a loss or a mistake in a place where it's not horrendously punishing. They can still make their way to the finals and even Worlds, right?
Yeah, and I think also the fact they have already got a win in the bank today, if they look convincing in a win over V3, that gives us a lot more confidence going into playoffs, right? Rather than a 3-3 last 3 weeks of play, 2 weeks really with the way Super Week worked. Instead, you end up with a 4-2 with some of those wins being really prized wins over some very impressive competition. Hell, your direct competition in V3 if you end up joking.
But if you're on the side of V3, getting another win here, forcing the tiebreaker match between Sengoku and CGA, or Crest Gaming Act, that's brilliant for you, as the tiebreaker match will happen just before playoffs begin, so it does mean there will be still a minimum week break between round 1 and round 2, their own match. Just imagine having a week of prep where you've got to see everything your opponent's going to be preparing for, maybe even 2 weeks. You've got all the time to prepare. This is just... V3 want to win this match because of the intel they can get off of this, right?
It would be a lot of fun. And then again, they've also secured first. Maybe they just decide, you know what, maybe it's time to throw out some riskier drafts and try some stuff before we come to playoffs. There's always that room. I mean, you have to start questioning some competitive stuff there. Actually, this does affect standings for CGA and Sengoku, but bluntly, that's not V3 don't have to care about that. That's not their prerogative. They've got to think about themselves, and I wouldn't be entirely surprised if they think, okay, we've secured first. We know we're going into that Juggernaut match. Maybe let's try something a bit different because we've got this our last couple games.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep pushing further because I like this idea of the narrative for it. What crazy thing would you like to see V3 come out with? Are we gonna see that Nunu mid? Are we gonna see something else crazier?
I mean, I actually really wouldn't mind seeing the Nunu mid. Then again, I can also say that maybe that's when you want to hide a little bit because you don't want it banned away from you. But just sort of, not necessarily like picks, but sometimes just play styles. Like, give me a harder 1-3-1 Give me a later game scaling comp where you're not playing so much through early game. Show me something a little different in the way you play. Maybe say, okay, we're going to play 1-4 and we're going to support Paz in a split push role. Put him on his Camille. Maybe pick up a Quinn if it's a Renekton. We've seen that come out a little bit in recent weeks. Something like that as well might be quite good.
Okay, I don't hate that idea. I mean, part of V3's charm is that they do play heavily through their jungler. That's their MVP, one of our MVP players. Maybe one of the best players in the region. That is Boogie in V3's jungle. And it's interesting. There's this whole idea and kind of concern and problem. Some people think you should be able to play 10 to 15 different ways of playing League of Legends. I'm being over facetious here. Obviously, that's not that. But the idea that you should have multiple ways of playing the game, whereas there is also the opposite philosophy of get really good at playing one way, and basically learn how to play that way every single time. Get really good at it, play as many champions that can play that way, and you're going to get victory because that's how you win the game. If you've got Michael Jordan, why would you not do everything? Just give him the ball. Why would you not play around him? It's like, play around Kobe. Why would you not play around Kobe in every single way? It's the same for the Shy. Think about it with that. If you have the Shy on your team, Rookie. Or if you've got Doinby, like, play these crazy things, support your best players in your team, like Tian. Why wouldn't you do that if you're V3? Do they need to maybe do what you're asking for them initialize, or should they just try and improve what they're good at and just become masters at it for the international stage?
So I think the answer is no, they don't. On the other hand, there is always the risk with when you play just the one style, and that is that if someone figures you out really hard, and they just have a very strong answer, it can put you into a very big bind. So having a few more feathers to your cap, even if you do like to default to a playstyle, can just make you a little bit more, a little harder to solve in draft.
That does make total sense. And talking about draft, we're into that pick and ban phase initialized, so let's go over.
Looking forward to it. Okay, so Sengoku Gaming over on the red side this time around with V3 Esports making up the red side. I got that the way around. And of course, that will be Appamen in the top lane for Sengoku Gaming, alongside Blank in the jungle, Pyrian in mid, Yutori Miyashi as their bot lane carry, and of course, NT their support.
And on the right side, we've got V3 Esports with Paz in the top lane, Boogie in the jungle, Ace in the mid lane, Archer as their bot lane carry, and Rainer as their support. Bick and Bans coming in quick and fast. Bard, Twisted Fate, and Set banned away from V3 Esports.
It is indeed not a surprise, to be sure, for pretty much any of those bans. I think the Bard versus NT makes a lot of sense to me. The TF is something that Pyrian's gone towards a lot. We know where the Galio is in mid lane with the likes of Ace, and just not a bad Kalista, it turns out.
No, I mean...
continue.
Yeah, I mean, Ace played that Galio against Sengoku Gaming in their previous time when they met up, and it was vitally important in a lot of spots for V3 for them to play it through. But wow, we're already seeing a first pick lock-in for Pyrian on that Zoe. That is aggressive.
Yeah, and he is a very good Zoe, don't get me wrong, and you can blind pick it well enough. I don't know whether it would be first pick priority necessarily. Especially considering Ace's LeBlanc. Ace's LeBlanc is up, and that's generally spoken offers a good matchup both ways, actually, so it's a pretty skill-based matchup. Boogie hovering as Evelyn. It's your last couple games, man. Time to pick it up. Don't stop hovering it, and put that pick into the game, because I really want to see it, and I know you're great at this pick.
I'm just trying to think. We haven't seen Karma be picked. And that is a huge ace. We can totally also see Paz play it. We can see Rainer play it. And they're just giving it straight back over. Really indexing on Archer on that Ashe. I don't mind that. I'm surprised, though, that V3 really want to pick the LeBlanc here and don't want to at least wait for R3 to pick it up. That just would make more sense in my eyes.
Well, you already know it's going into the Zoe, right? So it's not like you're blinding the LeBlanc. And I can also see if you're wanting to hide things around, I can see that. Then again, the Karma as well, I think, would have made some sense. You kind of know it's less flexible at that point. It's either top or bot. Though then again, Paz has played a good top Karma, so that's no bad flex. Sengoku Gaming, though, looked towards the Jhin response to the Ashe. And I know they have gone towards this quite a lot in recent weeks. I've been middling, I think it's fair to say, on Yutori Ashe's Jhin. He's had some pretty good games and some where I've gone, that was very low impact. And pairing up with the Nautilus makes a lot of sense. It's a lot of CC early on.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of CC. I totally agree with you. Tony Marchi has been having a pretty, just in general, unexciting split so far. Not of the highs that we did get to see from him in the spring split, but looks like we're going to get some flex picks here. Would really like to see that Karma be picked up. I still think it would be really nice. It offers them a lot of flexibility, and you know it's also not going to get banned away, but it looks like Paz rather, getting his Camille back on top of it. And something you mentioned in the pick and ban, earlier before we came into the game.
Camille is just really strong, and a lot of what Appleman likes to play can end up in a bit of a tricky spot versus Camille. It's also worth pointing out, of course, that Appleman has gone towards the Camille in the last recent few weeks as well. It's something he has picked up, and taking that away from him can be pretty nice. Also, because V3 have the first pick in the second phase, you know, if Sengoku Gaming don't ban Karma, V3 can just pick it up first here and have an Ashe Karma bot lane pretty easily.
Yeah, they can have that Ashe Karma. They really want something that's going to allow a dive comp. As with this Camille, with this LeBlanc, they're planning on getting in the face of their opponent. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of jungler that Boogie's going to want to go for. But that's going to be less for the last pick, because they want to have full information on what Sengoku's doing. And interesting this time, Kench is being hovered. Now the Soroka. Soroka's a pick that I think we should be seeing far more of, especially in the top lane, but that's just where I'm from. We get the Kench. Bench that Kench, Sengoku, can you?
Well, they're going to have to try and figure that one out for sure. I'm seeing the makings of a 1-3-1 here. Got Ashe and Tahm Kench safe in the mid lane with whoever the jungler is, and then LeBlanc and Camille dancing around in the side lanes. I'm seeing double teleport already in for both those solo laners. Not really a surprise, but definitely kind of seeing V3's comp beginning to run out.
Disrespectful from Apperman.
It is a little.
That's
the number as well.
We saw you Apperman on this Aatrox when they played off last time, and Paz was on Wukong, and he just kicked him to the side.
We've seen a little bit of Karthus today as well. Hoglet pulled that out earlier and looked pretty good on the champion.
So good.
And, you know, Jhin, Zoe, and the Karthus to finish up whoever you poke out could be pretty good. Sadly, they've gone towards the Graves, but that's... There you go, got that in there. Zoe now the only magic damage threat, really worth pointing out. But, yeah, Sengoku Gaming definitely a lot of damage in team fights if they can get there. V3 have got to think about what their last pick for jungler will be. Hovering the Kha'Zix is something that Boogie's looked really good on and has picked up in recent weeks. It's roaming between sort of the two side lanes, which are going to want to play that 1-3-1 style with the picks they've got at the minute. I can see Kha'Zix working really well with those isolated solo laners, so it could be pretty good here. We'll have to see whether it works out.
Well, it doesn't horrendously go away from what they kind of want to do, because Boogie can dive in, try and get on a target immediately, or pick up a target off the side, and then jump in, jump out. Obviously, Kha'Zix is very interesting when you're trying to play him in team fights, and I actually really like where you thought this game was going to go. I think this is definitely a 1-3-1 comp, as Boogie can basically be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. He can basically shadow mid lane while basically offering Paz or Ace, regardless of which lane they're in, basically pressure just through shadowing, because now everyone's always going to be worried, if I approach them, if I go into them, yada yada, do not approach me. Where do we go with that, right? Who do you think actually drafted a slightly stronger comp there?
Oh, man, I like what V3 are doing. It's kind of going towards what I was asking them to do a little bit more anyway. I said, well, maybe pick up the Camille, maybe pick up something like the Quinn, I suppose, if it's into the right matchup. And they've kind of done me a solid and done that. So I'll be happy to see how they play around this. Ace as well on the LeBlanc, play side lane with the teleport LeBlanc, something the Pyrians like to do in the past. So I like what I'm seeing from V3. That said, Sengoku Gaming have got themselves a lot of burst in team fights if they can get there, a lot of lockdown from the utility in the bot lane. So if you can hit those mid-game team fights or roam around with the Jhin and Nautilus and catch people out to allow Graves, Zoe, all the rest to blow people up, could be pretty scary for sure.
I mean, Kha'Zix at the moment over here in the LJL does have a 100% win rate out of the three times he's been picked. Yeah, I mean, once picked him twice, and, well, we know how that went, and Boogie picked it up once. Every time we've seen Kha'Zix go, the worst appearance he's had, he went 5-1-3. But last 2 times he's been playing off against Volibears and Trundles. This is a Graves, and this is a significantly different matchup for the champion in general. Graves can actually go far more aggressive and actually take it to the bug in the in the jungle, relatively speaking, especially because of that blind. Well, the smoke screen, I guess. But look at this.
No,
go for it.
Yeah, no, definitely completely agree with that statement. I'll also say, of course, Graves is squishier relatively than Trundle or Volibear, but he still has the grit. And bluntly, just because he's squishier means that it doesn't mean he doesn't do anything. Like, that man does a lot of damage, and you get the smoke screen, you get the full burst combo, and Kha'Zix never gets tanky. Best he gets really is a Death Dance and a GA, which is something, but it's not exactly a full tank Volibear or something in the jungle, so you can absolutely detonate people with a Graves if you get the right combo off.
But something worth noting, internationally, throughout all of the regions, Graves has been picked up 116 times. He has a 61%... Oh, no. He has a 49% win rate. No, that can't be right. God. 39% win rate versus Kha'Zix. Basically, cool. Kha'Zix has a huge 61% win rate versus anyone playing Graves. So it seems like it's a great matchup for him. Part of that reason is probably going to be due to the fact that Kha'Zix is able to aggressively pressure his laners in the early part of the game far more than what Graves can do, relatively speaking. But I just want to go on to these stats initialized. Look at this. V3 Esports basically trumping everybody in everything here. Doesn't matter who you are. And they're also winning. Does help with that one, right?
It really does. I'd love to say I can see the stats, but right now I've got Game of Legends via Parsec, so I'm I've got great stats, but not one's appropriate to V3. I'm looking at Kha'Zix and going, yes, those are great Kha'Zix stats. I'm like a little bit surprised actually by how much the Kha'Zix is winning into Grace, but I think the dueling must just go in the favor of Kha'Zix in the jungle. I mean, that 120% damage on the Taste Their Fear is so damn huge that I guess that those are going super heavy. Both junglers aren't the best gank. It's not a huge amount of CC in their kits, but dueling, that both can do. But I guess Kha'Zix at the minute is just coming out on top of that.
Yeah, he must be. That's the only obvious solution there. Okay, so now that we've got our comps, we've now been sitting here thinking about our comps. Obviously, our teams are just waiting to get onto the Rift, maybe sort out any other minor issues that arise in the first few seconds of the game. Making sure also mouse and keyboard's obviously working. Always a good one, obviously. But it does look like our 2 teams have gotten onto the Rift initialize. I'll let you take it from here.
Well, thank you so much, Master Swan. Kind of now investigating how this is going to go. We've got quite a lot of things to be covering. It's going to be a massive game to work out how it's going to figure out. We've got, of course, Sengoku Gaming here, looking to try and figure out how their playoff situation, I guess, will work out. They have a lot in their hands here. If they win this game, and it's a tough ask, don't get me wrong, versus V3 and the #1 team, they secure second place. If they lose, suddenly things get scarier. They will then have to play off against CGA for that all-coveted second place spot where they get to be in that Juggernaut match. A lot to play for there, Master Swan.
It really is. There is a huge amount to play for Sengoku, though. If you're V3, it's just business as usual. We can just sit here, play it as if nothing else has happened. I'm just going to ask you, though, because you were saying you're getting Kha'Zix's win rate. Are you actually seeing the game on your screen now?
I have like a tiny little corner of the game right now in the one corner. I've got my face on one half of it. I've got the game in a top corner. I've got some of your your transitions and stuff. It's very interesting seeing behind the scenes. Not fantastic for seeing what's going on in the early minutes of the game.
Glad I had asked you, as we are into that game at the moment. Our junglers have started on their opposite sides, and I'm just trying to work out your slight problem that you are experiencing at the moment. It's
just testing my play-by-play skills.
Okay.
Glorious! It's already over. Blank's going for the invade, so I'm very happy we came back into game. Unfortunately for Blank, he's on a ward, but so is Boogie. Pyrian had the early shove, though, so see how this goes. The wraparound is there from Blank, and he's going to have found his way into that Raptor bush. Ace is going to roam up, and they are hunting for Blank. He will find an end of the line onto Ace, and that will be a distortion forwards, but a quick draw over the wall will find Blank out of danger, but it kind of slows down the early jungle pathing from both junglers here.
Perfect timing. Fan vote came in 61% in favor of E3. Basically, 1% off of Kha'Zix into Graves matchup. I like to feel like that's unintentional, but somehow somehow the universe just came together for that one.
You can see here as well, Blank just hovering around, seeing if he can catch Boogie on transition over to his Wolves. But Boogie was had gone to Raptors, then wrapped right back around to go back to his red buff. And that actually is going to leave Blank free to take a lot of Boogie's topside jungle. I appreciate the aggression here from Blank. It's normally what Boogie likes to do early on these carry junglers.
And maybe this is a strategy. He is indexing onto that bot lane of Archer and Reiner. Not great to always try and have to dive a Tahm Kench, though, personally. Some of the worst times I've had is in that bot lane as a jungler, going into the bot lane. Tahm Kench just eats their carry, and I go, well, that's
gone
good.
well.
Ooh,
yep, that's gone.
See, Boogie does the thing that I can't do, and you can leave an enemy minion or whatever on like a few HP, and he'll still find it as, oh god, Pyrion going on to Ace here.
Yeah, he was looking for it, but sadly the sleep didn't quite last long enough. But Blank is going to roam straight back across and try and find this Kha'Zix in the jungle. Blank was spotted taking Boogie's Gromp because of a well-placed Hawk shot from Archer. But that means that Boogie, actually for now, is kind of ahead slightly in camps. And Apperman has been taken very low in this top side. I don't know what trading's been going on, but Camille has been coming out heavily on top there. No pots left for either top laners, and Boogie's hanging around. He really wants this kill. Yeah, Blank's roaming up now as well.
Yeah, and this is partly what they're hoping for is, yeah, it's great if Apperman pushes out, but if we can also just... Oh, Boogie also pinged over to 4.
Oh, that's going to suck for the Graves. He's going to try and run out. He's got phase rush down. Quick draw over there is the leap after. That's the flash out, but a fantastic knock up from Apperman will buy time. And that's the flash for the chain from Ace, who gets first blood. Now, Apperman's in trouble. They're going to try and turn this around. Pyrion is here, got a lot of damage, and a health bar's critically. Ace has now got invisible with the clone. Pyrion's got the flash to his name. Now, Boogie will burn that spell thief flash, but it is a 1-for-1, all things said and done. First blood goes the way of Ace, but he swiftly pays for it with his life. Yeah,
and worth noting, Paz didn't even get an assist on that, so it's only over onto Boogie and Ace for all of that gold, but still first blood well worth it. And important of note, Pyrion did have to burn that teleportation, meaning that's going to be down for the next 5 minutes. Worth knowing. This was so nice by Boogie, though.
Just wait to the bush, has the level advantage. There's the red buff on as well, and very fortunate to have that well-timed Darkin Blade from Apperman to knock him up, and I think that interrupted the leap as well, actually, so credit to Apperman there for saving his jungler's life, at least for a moment. Wasn't enough in the end, and then the turnaround comes.
Yeah, unfortunate that they also weren't able to actually kill Apperman throughout all of that. It just feels like a little bit miscoordinated towards the end of that. But, important note, Executioner already coming in for Paz. You've got to do it against some champions like Aatrox. It's weird because it doesn't do anything really versus the rest of the team of Sengoku, but you just have to deny that healing that comes out of Aatrox, or he just becomes a huge problem.
Yeah, and especially if that's the lane you're going to try and, like, continually force, right? Like, you're going to try and split push against Aatrox. That's your lane matchup. For the rest of the game, pretty much, Camille's, like, saying, okay, if I'm going to split push this game, that's who I want to do it against. Then the Executioners goes up in value so much as well. It's only 800 gold. It's a pretty cheap item compared to, like, the full Morello for an AP carry to get the healing reduction.
Sure.
So, you see the thinking, at least, there from Paz. I completely agree. You know, definitely worth picking up. Looking into this early game, though, Sengoku Gaming actually out to a slight gold lead here at 600. That's a decent hook now. Onto Archer, who stepped up there. Reiner is just not here. He's burnt heal, he's burnt flash, and will escape, but is very fortunate as Ace takes a big chunk from a bubble across the wall as well. That's really nasty stuff now. Blank invading onto the blue buff, but he will find Boogie, and he will find an exhaust on his face. That's a devour now. Now Blank forces an exhaust out of Pyrion. Ace now looking to try and find a little bit more at the end. Paz has teleported down. He's put the Hextech ultimatum onto Yutaro Miyashi, who is in the baby cage, does not die to the precision protocol, and a flash at the end will save the AD carry's life. That's a lot of Summoner's Burn, Mass Swamp.
Huge amount of Summoner's Burn. Apperman also is still AFK pushing in this top lane. Is going to get at least 1 or 2 turret plates, and this is going to be a turnout and a victory for Sengoku out of this team fight.
Boogie died in that.
Yeah, huge problem there.
Ooh.
Sengoku are just finding their angles in. They just know how to respond. They got a lot of damage down, importantly, just before this fight. Archer was down to about 150, 200 HP, and Ace had just take a huge chunking as we come into this replay. Blank's getting caught out here a little bit, but so much CC, especially from NT landing that. That was beautiful by him. Now the chase is on for V3. Not a great box here. It looks great, but Perion's able to just absolutely delete Boogie, and they still don't kill Yutori Moashi. So, well played by Sengoku. Really good. Really good.
Well, like, I thought that, I'm looking at that replay, I was like, how did Perion get the kill there? Like, that should never have worked. They blocked the panel star. They went, oh yeah, more sparkles. Flashes past the body blocker to get the more sparkles and an auto attack onto Boogie to kill him off. We said the bug was squishy. And that puts Perion Zoe up to 2-0, and you know why this guy is first pick it when he can put that kind of damage numbers out.
And this is going to be an interesting problem that potentially V3 are going to have to solve between now and the Gauntlet match. If Sengoku are victorious in this match, they need to find a way of not being scared against that Zoe.
Boogie's in trouble. He gets hooked. He's going to hop over the wall, but he's going to be slapped. Perion goes over, but can't quite find it for Yutori Moashi. Fourth bullet is the charm and secures a second kill onto Boogie, who's having a rough game this time out.
Yeah, huge rough game. Not the game that he was expecting to have in the Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix hasn't died more than once in a game of League of Legends in the LJL. Now the bug has, and it's from Boogie. Disappointing start from here from V3 Esports moving forward so far. They haven't got the gold lead, which they normally have. They don't have the Herald advantage, which they normally have. That's on Sengoku. They haven't got a Drake yet, and this is a problem for V3 moving forward. This is probably one of the worst starts they could really hope for. Huge amount of CC, though, coming onto Boogie here. Enti just finding him so deep. Perion making sure, keeping that vision, and then...
No!
Oh!
That's after the indicator's gone. That's after the indicator's gone. He thought he was safe. He could have kept walking right. He would have been out of the curtain call. He walks right back in front of the window, so to speak, and was a very swift exit stage left there.
Well, he was still on. He was still seen. He still had that little eye above him.
Oh, that's just sad.
Oh, Ace. Oh God, he's going on to it.
Yeah, he's got Force the Cleanse actually out of Perion. That wasn't a teleport because Spellbook's a thing and Perion loves it on all of his mid laners.
It is.
And forces that out at least. But remember, Blank has got this Rift Herald. It's trying to sort of stop the pressure in mid, I think. But that is a lot of damage. Forces a flash out of Ace after the collateral damage came through and Perion was looking to execute the low health LeBlanc. That will mean that the Rift Herald does get summoned in the Eden mid lane. Boogie's going to wrap around the back. But I think it would be very aggressive to come and try and punish this. As Apperman thinking of diving Paz under turret. That's the stun, that's the shield, and that buys time. Now Paz needs to try and outplay best he can. He gets the slow from the sweep, but the auto attack gets the 1v1 solo kill. Under turret, Apperman's Aatrox is still a force to be reckoned with. And Sengoku Gaming are running away with this game. They're up over 2,000 gold as we've only just got past 11 minutes into the game.
And this is ceaseless aggression from minute 1 from Sengoku Gaming. When Boogie was already aggressively getting invaded from Blank, Perion has been supporting and shadowing his jungler. Apperman now winning the 1v1. They keep taking it to V3 saying, yeah, you might be at the top of the standings, but we want that spot. Huge amount of turret plates now in favor of Sengoku Gaming. The only place that they're not favored is currently in that bot lane, but that's okay because Jin already has a kill that Archer and Rainer have not been able to find for their bot lane carry. You've got to be feeling great now if you're Sengoku Gaming. Go throughout this game initialized. We had questions coming into there. They had a loss against the last place team before we came in game. We were highlighting that fact, Sengoku have been looking really unsure of how they should be playing their games. This doesn't seem to be a problem coming into this game. They've been finding a lot of aggression and just taking it to... Reiner, you're already half HP!
Oh, he's posted the thick skin already. He has to flash out. That's the arrow in response. But the curtain call now coming out will force the body block out of Archer. But that's still pretty sucky. Does, however, have a Guardian proc, which will keep his HP bar nice and high. And it will mean that Sengoku Gaming don't feel all that comfortable to keep shoving up with ultimates now burned. Boogie wanders in, seeing if we can find anything. But that red buff went a little while ago, buddy. Nothing to be found there. Now the bug is lying in wait. Has got himself a completed warrior enchant. And that bug is more than ready to fight. He can do a lot of work on this champion at this point, if he can find the right target.
And that's what we haven't seen from Boogie quite yet. He hasn't been able to find any of those targets so far. It really doesn't matter. And this has started all the way from that level 2 invade onto these junglers. Really interesting to see that we're seeing such an aggressive play stance from Sengoku. We haven't seen this much from them before. Important worth to note, though, Archer and Yutori Moashi did just get their first items coming in that Infinity Edge and a Blade of the Ruin King. Big important power spikes for both of these two champions.
Completely agree. Those are some big ones. And as I mentioned, that the Warrior Enchant for Kha'Zix, it's worth pointing out there's a Warrior Enchant in for Grapes as well, and that's pretty big. And now Paz is actually in a serious bind here. He's down 2 levels, and he's about to get 2v1 on the turret. There is the attempt at a dodge with the Hextech Ultimatum. It won't buy enough time, and Apperman heals back enough with some Triumph to not be bothered by the turret shots. Second death for the Camille. Was looking really good early in the game, Mass 1, but that sort of teleport afterwards has meant that Apperman with CS advantage from that, with turret plate advantage, and now from 2 kills under turret with a little bit of assistance that second time out from Blank. It's looking rough for that Camille.
It's looking so rough. It's looking rough for all members of V3 Esports, in all fairness. In my eyes, Initial eyes, every member has to be worried that their peer on the opposite side is just a little bit richer, a little bit stronger.
Oh, sad times. Arrow went wide.
You hate to see it. You hate to see it. It's like when you feel like you got a hole in...
Blank. He knows exactly what's going on here. He's hidden around the corner, and that'll force the distortion out. But there is the exhaust as well. And that means that Boogie, however, does have a flash. Oh, Pyrium was desperately looking for that. Burns his own flash and does not land with the bubble. Nice idea from Sengoku Gaming. Blank's been doing this a fair amount, actually. Just mind gaming Boogie a little bit early on into this. We saw it originally from Boogie around the top lane that Blank died for first blood to, if you remember. But that was the last kind of bright spark kill-wise for V3. Their only spark kill-wise for V3. But after that, it's been Blank with some clever vision plays, hanging around that corner to the Raptor pit.
And that is just how Sengoku want to play this game. Keep aggressively going all around the game, the map itself, pushing advantage. First turret is going to be Apperman's in this top lane, and this is going to just really throw it in the favor of Sengoku Gaming. We saw there, it looked like the AI bot was giving about 80% is what I'm gonna guess there, but
I was
the
there
members
with
of
you.
V3 were hiding it, preventing us from seeing it, as they're like, no, you're not allowed to see that one.
Oh, there's the shield coming in from a bit late. One Darkin Blade did about 20% of Paz's HP, which is a very scary space to be in. Like, he's down an item and a half to a Sheena and Executioner's Calling. That is not a good space for this Camille. Down 3 levels right now as well. I'm assuming it'll get even up to level 10. Probably on this wave, but even
probably,
so, Sengoku Camille moving over to this second Rift Herald. This Camille is very anemic.
Oh, she's just struggling in every sense of the word. Does seem like we're having some problems with the stream at the moment, but it's just stuttering. It's still going. Just a few hiccups here and there. We'll take it. It's better than it completely dying on us. And now I have to raise the question. A question I've not asked a lot. Oh, God, Paz. Oh,
Never mind, there's the shield down, and Apperman's looking to continue going in, lands that Infernal Chain, is chasing forward with the World Ender running, forces the flash out of Paz, could not be around to take another Darkin Blade. And now Boogie trying to hunt down this Aatrox that shoved up really hard, looking for that 1v1. The teleport back in, they're looking to punish this Aatrox, who's in a very difficult position now. He's still got a lot of HP, but he's isolated. That's good news for this Kha'Zix. The Hextech Ultimatum will keep Apperman in place. That hook shot lands, and it will be the kill over to Camille, and an alleviation of pressure on the top side.
But
Aatrox
they want
going
something.
A bit deep. Sengoku Gaming are going to try and push in. They land the hook onto Reiner. Archer flash, and it will be Reiner going golden, but it will just buy time. That statue is not forever. And he falls down to blank for a second kill for the Graves in the jungle.
Yeah, and throughout all of that, yes, it's really good that Sengoku obviously did find that pick there, because basically it meant they traded. They traded their top laner for the enemy support. They also were able to pull an advantage. They got the mid lane turret throughout all of that, as well as the dragon. They're also got the bot turret. They now have all of the outer turrets. Favor Sengoku. They can take a trade of losing Apperman. I think that's fine, in all fairness, if they're able to pull that much pressure.
5,000 gold pretty much, Mass One. It's not even, it's just 17 minutes. This is a massive gold difference right now. You can see it on your screen. That is just huge for this time in the game. And what it is buying, check out those top lane items again when we come back around. This Aatrox is miles and miles ahead of the Camille, even with that 1 kill back.
Yeah, this is no point. It is 80%. Oh, look at how smart we are at basically seeing one number, and
ain't that right?
We just know it, mate. We just know it. Boogie, you're getting seen here. You're not the invisible bug predator. Enti is on the hunt now, apparently, onto you, sir. And now I have to ask the question. Initialize. I know I'm the color commentator, but I have to ask the question, relatively speaking. I don't know if there's a way out of this now for V3. They needed early game scaling, really, to not go horrendously in their favor. Yeah, they don't have horrendous scaling as it does come into this late game at all. But the problem is they're so far behind already. They're just going to get run over.
Well, this Ashe is kind of a ways behind, and that's your team fight pressure in a lot of ways. She's not going to get a lot. Kha'Zix isn't a fantastic team fighter. Graves is not bad, let's be completely honest. And yeah, Sengoku Gaming are brute forcing, and you can sort of see Boogie try to find something off the side. He's got nothing to play around right now. They need the Camille to get to 2 items. But at this point, Sengoku Gaming are diving the mid-tier 3 Reiner bops. Right, and they burn the thick skin, but now Sengoku Gaming might have gone too deep. They've got a lot of low health bars, and Ace is in behind. He's going to try and buy some time, but yeah, I kind of agree it would be dangerous to dive into the likes of the Jhin and the Nautilus at this point. You can rope you down pretty hard. Boogie is caught out a little bit there, but a swift leap will get him out of trouble, and Sengoku Gaming will instead say, well, you flanked us, and instead we'll take your red buff.
Well, not only are we going to take the red buff, we're going to take the rest of your jungle, and we're going to rotate round to this top lane with pressure shadowing our top laner and jungler. We're just going to keep farming, and this ceaseless aggression that started at minute 2, where we picked the favorites and our current leaders in V3, Sengoku have found a way through their armor. Only one team had found that, and that was in Super Week of Crest Gaming Act. And has that armor now not only been dented, but now there's a crack. And other teams have now figured out V3 Esports and a way to play around them. And importantly, beat Boogie at his own game.
Kind of have to wait and see. I do wonder. Pyrian now, of course, on this bot side. Around a little bit, but I don't think he's going to get caught out. He's being very, very careful here. Remember, he's got Spellbook, and Boogie's just going to wander away. Oh, there's Blank as well. There's Boogie in behind, but definitely a little bit risky. This Zoe, though, now in a spot of bother, but the great sleep will buy time. But so much damage! Good lord, Boogie! That's the isolated damage. Now Archer on the top side is going to go down to Blank, and Pyrian does not escape. It is a 1-for-1, all things said and done. Boogie will take that shutdown very happily. The dredge line lands from Enti, though. Flash out from Reiner, trying to buy time, but Blank just continues hunting down, and the shotgun shells will find a very large toad as the next kill for the Graves in the jungle. Outlaw still hunting though, and it is a 4v3 at this point in time. Ace does not get to secure that blue buff, but Boogie will with the smite. The curtain call slows down Boogie. The last one won't land, and now V3 caught in a weird position as Sengoku Gaming take even more of V3's jungle.
Apperman's just pushing mid throughout all of this. They're going to get mid turret.
Another hook. It's a 3v3. That's a lot of damage from Boogie early on. The Hextech ultimatum comes down, and the shutdown from the precision protocol. Ace's clone is the one that's still there, and he's actually got out now. Enti's in a lot of trouble. Double kill for Paz, and he's now escaping as well. Boogie is the one in trouble. Gets rooted in place by the deadly flourish. The world ender is there, but the good slow from the evolved W will buy time. Look where Pyrian is though. He's going to try and land the sleep. Forces a flash out of Boogie, and the Nimbus cloak will get the bug out to safety.
All said and done. After that, it did end after a very prolonged fight. was in favor of V3.
It was.
Only just, though, because they did happen to lose Reiner before all of that, as it was 2-1 favor Sengoku. Eventually did turn it around because Boogie was able to successfully escape. 3-2 favor V3 Esports.
Yutori's in trouble. He has to burn the cleanse. Now he's getting slowed down. Flashed out over the wall. Now Archer getting attacked by the Darkin Blade. But that's a pretty big deal. Your AD carry is very low. But the response from Pyrion and Blank is Archer's near entire health bar will get to walk away, but that will prevent V3 from claiming this third Drake, and instead Sengoku Gaming will move to Soul Point, and they have rolled high this game, Mass 1. They will have an Ocean Soul to claim at some point over this next few minutes when the next Drake spawn.
And to be honest, in all seriousness, they would have been fine with pretty much any Drake outside of maybe that Air Drake, which they did happen to have a 50-50 at the end. They just want to have ceaseless stats versus V3 because they're just throwing themselves at the side of V3. Pyrion gets taken really low. It's caught out. Shouldn't be there. Why are you there on your own? You have no vision. But is then responded straight back over, and they do trade Archer for it. Reiner then does fall here, and this is what makes it favor Sengoku. They found themselves in that really odd spot, as you made out on the cast. The team of Sengoku now trying to pincer in, find their way around. No one's quite caught out here. However, Ace is out of vision, and no one can see him at this moment. Really well played here by Reiner and Enti. Oh, no, not just Enti, rather. Huge Ash ult does miss now, and now they're just trying to figure out their way around this. Problem is, they already killed the tanks. Now Paz just gets to ceaselessly go at them. Boogie found out on the wrong side. Why are you there, Boogie? Why did you do this?
Great flash.
Flashes the trouble bubble, the sleepy bubble at the last moment, and gets out, makes it half decent. 1, 2, and 4 on this Kha'Zix. You can't say that Boogie is never not in a game, because he always finds a way to get basically 100% kill participation for his team. Just does it.
Just finding well, and it's also bluntly, it's got Paz back into the game from 1 and 2 to 3 and 2, and they found the Hextech ultimatum onto Apperman. Apperman things, buddy. He's trying to heal his way out. That's dance, but it's not enough, and he's only itemized a certain amount, and the distortion comes through. But bloody hell, that made it closer than I was expecting.
Death Dance, Black Cleaver, never count out an Aatrox. The Death Dance hadn't been wasn't in either for Paz, which is also important to note. Also, the difference is Apperman has gone Conqueror, Grasp for Paz. That is going to affect some of the damage output coming out, especially when they get a lot of these stats and they just keep going at it for ages. It's not a prolonged fight. It's this extended trade that keeps going on. Doesn't matter. Oh my god, Archer just with a huge arrow coming out of nowhere, throwing down Blank, but it doesn't matter because none of the teams
coming in.
Coming in!
Right, now,
take it away.
Boogie's over the back, and it's going to force the back out of Sengoku Gaming, but they've leashed the Baron, and Paz, they were thinking a little bit about it, but Reiner is caught by a dredge line. Enti has been landing these all the way through, and hook, line, and sinker. Sinking specifically with Reiner's health bar, and the curtain call coming through as well, and this boat is full of holes. The whole of V3 are now sinking. That is 4 for none, and this will be the Baron Mass 1.
And just when you get your hopes up, they get dashed. You get concerned.
He's not in this game.
You get what? Yeah, okay. All right. I mean, yeah, the host of the LCS isn't actually in this game. I know it's weird. I mean, shout out to Dash over on the desk as always, but we're here with Sengoku and V3 and Ace. I'm not quite sure you can be the ace in the hole here for V3. You're gonna have to find an insane distortion here.
Yeah, no.
That's the opposite way, mate. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Well, it was looking like maybe V3 was starting to skirmish some ways back into this game, but it's a 10,000 gold lead, and now it will be a Baron on the back of a 4 for Omas 1. Take me through this replay. After the teleport comes through that does force Sengoku Gaming off this Baron. I
mean, part of the problem here is now Boogie's just at half health because Pyrion just had a face Paddle Star. Just straight in. Reiner gets caught out here. That's huge. Endy's been landing some really impressive hooks throughout all of this. Archer just gets deleted, denied anything. Apperman basically solo kills him before any of the rest of the team can even assist him. And this just kept going on. They went from one pick to another to another. V3 just got picked off while they were next to their friend. It was like a horror movie. Sengoku were the slasher flick, going through, removing each member one after another, and V3 just had to run away. We've only just got our first fully completed item now out on Boogie outside of his jungler item. He's going lethality, and I don't know if that lethality is going to be any quick enough, as I think it's a bit too late, but I don't know kind of what the build you now go on, Kha'Zix, when you fall.
It's always lethality.
But what do you do when you're 10k behind?
I mean, maybe that's what you've got to think about. He's still got some damage to blow up squishy people if he can find it.
I mean, I don't disagree.
I agree. But it's not fan. I agree. You know, you do want to snowball lethality if you can help it. It's not the best position. Maybe Black Cleaver wouldn't be a bad third item here, I guess, behind the two he's got already. He's actually thinking he might be face checking some people here. Ace is in a bit of bother as Double Distorted has still got flash to his name. Doesn't have to burn it as yet. Arrow goes wide and misses. And now Boogie has been spotted over the wall. The Bug's in trouble. He gets blown up, and it's not so much a paddle star as a fly swatter at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Very dead Kha'Zix, and that will mean Ocean Soul over to Sengoku Gaming as well, who will move to over 10,000 gold. Ace Distorted in will have to flash out, but the bubble lands on top of the depth charge, and yeah, Ace in the hole being the bottom of the boat that is V3, and as we mentioned before, it is sinking.
I think it's almost sunk initialized now. I think if they're going to get it up, they need to get a handyman with some great patchwork skills for underwater excavation. Well, in all seriousness, we came into this expecting V3 to have a pretty dominant showing, but Kha'Zix, Boogie on this bug, was never really able to pick off any of the major carries over on the side of Sengoku. We didn't see aggression play from Boogie. 1, 4, and 4. And if you're Sengoku, this was your plan. You went into it like this, and now they're sieging this base.
They're going to move in. They're getting Infernal Chains down again. Archer is trying to put out damage, but it only feels like a little bit of snow. It's not doing any actual damage, and that's 2 dead already. Paz and Boogie now hovering around, but another hook lands, and it's Paz running away, and he's still going to get hit by a Battlestar. He's going to throw down a Hextech Ultimatum. There's a Magic Damage Shield and nothing else. Archer on the fountain, he's throwing volleys out, but as I said, it is not a snowball fight you need to be having right now. That's what... Trying to find something. Boogie on to the fountain is taking a lot of damage, and Sengoku Gaming are just toying with their food. There's the curtain call, and it will be Sengoku Gaming taking a bow, throwing down the encore as they come out onto stage to take a bow and take second place in the LJL Summer Split 2020. That is a statement, as they will be facing off against V3 in that Juggernaut match. Maybe V3 should be a little bit afraid.
They potentially should be indeed initialized. Congratulations to Sengoku Gaming. But with that said, I think we should compose ourselves, figure out how we're going to talk about this game over on the analytics desk. But before we do that, sir, let's go over for a quick little break. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Officially Unofficial, bringing you coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split Week 7 Game 5 recap. Time initialize. Sengoku Gaming versus V3 Esports. We saw it go one-sided in their first bout way back when, I believe it was Week 3. But now, upon the rematch, it was actually the opposite way around, and it looked good if you were Sengoku Gaming.
Yeah, just Apperman things in the end.
It's back.
Some of that Aatrox looked pretty good after a rough early lane.
Yeah, let's really talk more about that. Part of that problem, though, was from the jungle pressure that came from Blank onto Boogie. And that was that red buff where, okay, Blank didn't successfully counter jungle, but he immediately went onto the Boogie's opposite side and started taking up his farm and basically forcing Boogie to play on the top side of the jungle, right?
Yeah, and I think it's probably just says about how you can rattle V3. We saw it in playoffs last time out as well. That sometimes if you can disrupt V3's very carefully orchestrated level 1 sort of like or 5 to 10 minute plans they have, particularly Boogie, and get him a little bit behind in terms of sort of like timing, if nothing else, then you can make V3 look a lot more mortal. And with Boogie kind of forced to run distractions, like you saw the kind of pathing he was trying to outthink what Blank was trying to do on the Graves. Like you could see after the failed red buff invade, where Blank then had to escape, he ends up waiting for Boogie by his wolves. Boogie's like, I don't think I can go there because I think he's by the wolves, and having to do all this defensive pathing, curling around the back of his own red buff. And it just bought a lot of time, and it meant that this Kha'Zix never really got rolling, and just never really got to snowball the side lanes in particular in the way he wanted to, or at least the solo lane.
Yeah, and that just ended up having a huge upset and problem and causation onto the rest of V3. Let's go up to that top lane that you were talking about earlier. Apperman Things ended up winning the 1v1 as we did get to see that dive onto Paz. And then throughout that, he was able to get the first turret in the top lane for Sengoku. He got 4 out of the 5 plates as well in that top lane. And that was just not only that ceaseless aggression, he ended up being about 2 to 3 levels above Paz throughout a lot of this game.
Yeah, and like the early lane was looking great for Paz. Got the HP bar really low down. They looked for the dive. It went 1-for-1. That wasn't fantastic. Then Paz teleports down the bot lane. They don't get any kills, and Boogie dies instead. So it's a 1-for-none. And Apperman gets to shove in 2 waves and get 2 turret plates in top. So Paz gets no gold. He gets no levels. He ends up behind the Aatrox as a result of it. Then he dies 1v1 under tower. All off the back of this kind of failed turnaround in the bot lane when Blank went for an invade onto the blue buff. Yeah,
and just also not killing him on that dive, that huge dive potentially. Went down to about 50 health, but that's not 0. It doesn't matter after that. You have to imagine, though, if that kill does come through, the game goes in a complete opposite way, because then potentially Apperman isn't able to do Apperman things and everything else. Let's have a quick little recap, though, because I think it's fair to say Sengoku were ahead throughout majority of this game initialized.
Yeah,
they were always first to get advantage. They got both of the heralds. They got all but 1 dragon, if I remember rightly. Or did they get all of them? I think they actually got all of them. Yeah, they just got all 4 in a row. And they just had objective control throughout all of it. And part of that I have to give credit to is NT. Because he was just landing gorgeous hook after gorgeous hook onto the enemy team.
Yeah, there was a problem when it came to skirmishing and team fighting in that there wasn't really a front line for V3, and that meant that whoever got hooked was in trouble. Yes, there was a Tahm Kench, but because he never really got all that far ahead and he was a support Tahm Kench, it wasn't like he was with a Senna, so got all these armor items nice and early. Every time he get hooked, he would die, and then there was no front line, and it was like V3 trying to like dance back and forth and get damage out without having this Nautilus hook them another time.
Yeah, and that just kept coming over and over again. Reiner ended up getting caught out at a fair few occasions, and it was just really unfortunate. We saw him as normally the first member to die. I guess not wrongly, as that's kind of what the Kent should do if the rest of the team are able to fold in as he does perish, sadly. That just didn't happen a lot, and it just ended up being Sengoku always on the front foot. There was only one time that Sengoku were actually on the back foot. They still had 2 kills, and they still got other things for their time when V3 even were able to get that 3 for 2 on that fight. Though, as you highlighted at the end of that game, Initialize, Sengoku Gaming are going to be now facing off against V3 Esports. That's a confirmed matchup for our gauntlet match now. And before we go on our break, did you expect this to be the gauntlet match we were coming into, or did you expect something else?
I mean, after Super Week, I was half expecting CGA because I wasn't all that impressed with Sengoku Gaming. This looks like a return to form, particularly from the likes of Blank and Pyrian, who looked a lot more front foot thinking, I guess, front foot forward, 100%. Just in terms of like being in the right places at the right time. Pyrian Zoe this game was actually really good. It landed a lot of clutch bubbles. And Boogie was forever forced to be flashing away, hot leaping away, could never really find the 1-for-1s, or the 1v1s rather, he was looking for. And that's good news for Sengoku Gaming, saying, actually, we can take it to your mid 2v2 that has been so powerful with regards to V3. And, you know, Boogie's Kha'Zix looked a little bit mortal this time out. The first time was really, really strong. This time there was a lot of curtain calls. There was a lot of bubbles. Made his life a lot more tricky.
Making it tricky was definitely part of the way to gain success if you are Sengoku Gaming. However, we'll have to see what happens in a best of series, and V3 will have side selection as they will still be that #1 seed, even though they did only go 1-1 versus Sengoku. Initialize. That's all we have for this moment in time. Indeed. Though, we've still got 3 more games to come up. We're going to go on a very short break. But when we come back, we're going to be seeing V3 Esports face off against Burning Core. Initialize, don't go anywhere. And I don't think any of our guests should either.
Oh no.
Don't go. We'll see you very soon. Jane.